Well, like I was telling you guys, like I kind of like put some effort into like doing some research into a couple other topics this week, but the news just got pretty fucking crazy.
You think?
I don't know what the hell's going on in Venezuela right now. He's trying to convince oil companies that it's in their best interest to invest $100 billion into a country that they don't really want to do business in, apparently. He has told Greenland, we're coming for you regardless, no matter what. He's got boats stationed off the coast of, what is it, Nigeria, the country with the largest oil reserves in Africa. And he's threatening Iran with wars. Mr. No New Wars
Right?
is rocking about 4 strong, any minute now.
It's not war. It's imperialism. It's expanding our self-interest, our national self-interest.
Yeah, I saw something this week that's like the transition from what they call the forever wars, which we've been in, now forever, to empire.
So
I
do you
mean,
guys know anything about his first term? Evidently, we had some oil companies down in Venezuela, some American oil companies down there, and his policy forced them to shut down. And Fox is interviewing one of the owners of those companies. He's like, now, why did you guys leave Venezuela? You were up and running. And the guy's like, because your president kind of forced us to. Do you guys know anything about that? Because I didn't read up on it enough.
No, it doesn't surprise me. That seems pretty typical. A lot of times he has to be reminded of things that he did and didn't do and who was president when, and dates, times, specific things. These are not what the
Trivial
orange man
details. Yeah.
does not worry himself about any of this shit. It is all about putting his fucking face and his name on everything he touches, right? As I think I commented on, like when he keeps threatening Greenland, I was like, someone fucking give him a shiny trinket like now, like say so, for God's sakes, like just pat him on the head and hand him a fucking Happy Meal. Like this shit's getting crazy.
You know, there's a solution to Greenland. The Greenland people have found a way to keep Trump from taking them over. They're going to rename themselves why am I not thinking of his name? The Island of Epstein is what they're going to rename themselves. So he won't have anything to do.
Yeah, that stuff's kind of shut up pretty fast now.
Yeah,
So
barely
here's
think about it.
the thing with Greenland that seems to be the glaring what the fuck about this is the claim that, okay, he claims the United States has to have Greenland for national security because if we don't have it, any minute China or Russia is going to sweep in and try to grab it. Am I getting that correct?
And we don't want to be neighbors with Russia. He said that. He said we don't want to be neighbors with Russia. What the fuck do you think Alaska is?
Well, my thing is, if you're claiming that you feared that this we're once again this is like Red Threat 2.0, like it's just all this the whole new communist threat bullshit just revamped. If you're claiming that, okay, one of these two countries is going to invade and take over Greenland, and we're like the big badass enforcer of the world and like the righteous, as we like to consider ourselves, why would we not just say, hey, if anybody fucks with Greenland, we will protect the shit out of them? Not, we have to take over their country in order to protect them.
Or why don't we form an alliance with other, let's say, Northern Atlantic nations? We could call it something about like the North Atlantic Trade Organization, something like.
Man, you're so 1950s. No, I think it seems like the rest of the world's forming an alliance against us.
Well, I've seen more and more countries are saying, all right, people, fix your shit. Even if you say, hey, I didn't vote for him, I don't care. Fix your shit. This is not going to be our problem. You guys got to fix the shit in the house.
Well, and I also heard, okay, somebody like the leader of the European Union or something, something like that. He said, okay, Trump takes Greenland. The United States loses all of their bases across Europe. Shut down, get the fuck out. No more intelligence sharing. No more, you don't get to use our roads, our bridges, our airspace, our blah, 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 any of that shit. It is drop your shit and get the fuck out of our country now. And how many bases does the United States have in Europe?
I mean, probably hundreds, if not dozens, if not hundreds.
I'm going to ask the Almighty.
That's the jujels. You know, it's funny, like you said, you can defend. It's all well and good to say like, all right, you know, we need to utilize Greenland as a defensive, you know, like NATO as a NATO platform. Like, hey, Denmark, we'll help you, you know, and we'll get everybody in the NATO agreement to like pitch in on building air bases up there and missile defense and whatever, so that way nobody can sneak over top of the ice at us. But you know, like we make the same argument that China and Russia make about the properties and territories that they're taking over or want to take over. Which, I mean, you know, I heard this on another podcast. The guy was saying, and I mean, you know, if we're, I guess it's kind of that era. Instead of making like, you know, like with Iraq or with Libya, or not necessarily Libya, but in these other places where we say we're going in for democracy, we're spreading democracy, which we all know is bullshit, but that's what we say. We're getting closer to like, no, we're taking this over because it's in our best interest. And they might not exactly tell you what our best interest is about it. You know, clearly, I think that's what they fucked up with Venezuela with, is like they were kind of just, Trump was like, we need to, probably was saying like, no, we're just going to tell them we're going down there for the oil. And they're like, no, 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 we need make it about the drugs. And it kind of finally came down to like, it was all out in the open. Like, no, we're going down there for oil, so that we have, I don't know. It's fucking crazy, but
It's all about drugs that country doesn't produce, and therefore we had to hijack about 10 oil tankers to keep the drugs safe. That's how much sense
Yes.
any of that makes to me.
right. And if you're getting rid of Maduro because of his ties to the cartels and the drug operations. But then once he's out, you toy with the idea of keeping everybody there that was there managing the government. I mean, which maybe is a better option as far as stability goes, you know, like you don't, but then you didn't change anything either, you know? So
There's a definite level of ineptitude with this administration, I would say. It's almost as if they have no idea how to govern anything or barely any interest in it.
Yeah, but with all the experience our commander in chief has, no way he doesn't.
So
do you
Yeah,
remember when he picked, he's also now, so at first when they captured Maduro, at first he said, or maybe not right away, but like pretty close after, they said they were going to let the current VP kind of assume and just continue, you know, operations as normal. And they said were not going to support the exiled, rightful president, like they had it taken away from her. And then now I guess he's kind of back to supporting, maybe putting that on the table that they might support her. But do you remember when she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and then he wanted to take it? It's like, why did they give me one?
yeah, and like a couple of days ago, he said that she wasn't fit to run the country because she didn't have the right level of respect or some bullshit. And apparently, I think she might have said something smart like, "Hey, if you let me run Venezuela, I'll give you my shiny trinket peace prize that they gave me." And then he probably
Wow.
salivated. So to be clear, check it out. So the U.S. maintains over 40 permanent military installations across Europe. Germany, Italy, Poland, UK, Now consider if that's the thing, if we take Greenland and Europe kicks us out, and the next time or whatever, the same time we want to continue fighting with the Middle East, whoever our enemy du jour is there, where are you launching from? Where are you taking what's that?
I said, right. Good point.
Yeah, like where are you taking off from? There's a point to having the strategic military reasoning for having bases all over the world. Not that I agree with a lot of it. It's just, to me, it's a basic imperialism, but does everything get launched off of an aircraft carrier? Like
subs aircraft carriers, or that'd be about it, which if we have, and if we bring all of our manufacturing back, we'll be able to pump those babies right out. We can have a vertical economy. By vertical, I mean coming from South America, all the raw materials and everything going vertically up into America.
You should have got a position in Doge or something, man. You are efficient
right?
and just as realistic.
Now, I did read, I think it was World War II, we had an agreement with the Danes that we could put military bases in Greenland anytime we wanted, in perpetuity.
Perpetuity.
So why don't we do that? Why do we have to invade them? If we have the right to do that, let's just put a base there. I mean, that
it has something to do with oil and natural resources
some
again.
sort of natural resources.
It'll
Yeah.
be just like Venezuela all over again. Like,
I think
it's
theirs is
about
more like
defense. It's about defense,
rare,
and then pretty
rare
soon,
minerals, right?
yeah, rare minerals are. And again, like, is it? I kind of hate to. I hate to say it, like the rude joke about like being glad, that I've got privilege. If we're in the United States, like, shit, if Russia and China are going to be terrible and destroy the fucking world, like, if you can't beat them, join them. Like, maybe we just become the assholes. Do you really think even that?
Become the assholes you say.
Yeah, we
No,
are.
no, no. When I say become, like we're like assume like openly, kind of like coming out of the closet. We come out of the
Stop pretending and actually
yeah.
just
Stop
own
pretending
up
that
to
we're the good guys and just be like, all right, plot twist, y'all. We're the bad guys.
Yeah, we're just as bad as Russia or China. Russia, I guess apparently you're gonna take Ukraine. We'll let you have that. China, you're gonna get Taiwan. It's just like we were talking about right before we started. What 1984, right? With the or not 1984, yeah, 1984, right? The three
Well,
world powers. That's what we're starting to do. We're starting to separate our continents and our world geography into those three areas, right? It's kind of
And
happening.
I just started a book that's, the history of the CIA. And apparently, going into World War II, we had no intelligence. And coming out of World War II, we basically had almost no intelligence. Like, we knew nothing of what was going on inside of Russia. We just made shit up. And it's amazing because, like, I'm like 10% into this book, and I was like, only a bunch of fucking white guys could fail upwardly this bad. Like, they just kept fucking up and fucking up and fucking up, and people kept getting killed, and they just kept dumping more money and more people, and finally they had like one success, and then it's just propaganda machine goes into motion, and Yankee Doodle Dandy, and the USA is the best, and it's like they're basically the fucking Keystone Cops trying to run all over the world. It's our, let's call it national perception versus our nationalistic reality is probably, pretty solid gap in there.
our national perception or
Yeah,
our
like
perception international?
how we as Americans think we are,
Ourselves.
like
Okay.
what we think our role and our, how we're viewed in the world versus how we actually are.
When I was a child, I bought it. I bought that we were the best and the smartest at every, and we were the purest. I bought all that.
Yeah, you gotta stop those godless communists, right? It was that.
Right.
But are communists atheists? I thought Russia's a pretty religious country. They're Orthodox.
That's the way we made it sound, right? They were evil.
I grew
Ronald Reagan called them evil.
Russia is, but like Chinese communism is not. Chinese communism was atheistic ish. In a very, in my opinion, Chinese communism, because you're atheistic, because you're the leader, the supreme leader is the God, is the supreme being. So there's no like,
there can't
other
be a
being.
God if, Kim Jong-il or Un or whichever is actually God. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're even in China and stuff, but I'm pretty sure that's how.
You know what, though? All right, I'll give them credit. If they're going to worship their leader, at least they can fucking see him. He's the guy standing right there. They're just going, hey, I choose to worship the guy that's standing right there.
The picture of that they painted of him is probably a pretty close representation, unlike our Kenny Loggins Jesus that we all worship. Instead of the brown, Palestinian that he probably was.
Yeah, you think?
We all know, because Nazareth is in Palestine, right? That's where the town.
Yeah, pretty solid chance he didn't look anything like Kenny Loggins' Jesus that's hanging on the walls of many American homes.
No.
Anything else in the current events news this week that caught your eye? I mean, other than the fact that all three of our football teams are now officially out of contention, we can concentrate on the impending doom that is the upcoming apocalypse.
I'll
Or
just throw one comment out, and forgive me for not thinking of her. Renee Good
the lady that got
Good.
shot, who got murdered.
Yeah.
murder.
Amen. God rest her.
I mean, has anybody commented that she's gay? I mean, the
Yeah, I heard.
maggots
Yeah,
making
she had a
such big
wife. I
deal.
heard.
Would they be making such a big deal out of it if she wasn't in a gay marriage? I'm thinking that's got a lot to
Well,
do with it.
didn't Christy Nome refer to her as a domestic terrorist?
Yes, and that's what she was referring to, is that it's an assault on the American family structure by being a gay person.
I thought she was saying she was a terrorist because the woman was filming the agents just doing whatever they were doing.
Oh,
Well, let's suffice it to say she's not a heterosexual white male.
Not at
That's the way-
all. And the guy called her a fucking bitch after shooting her 3 times.
Calmly.
Man.
Just very calmly, bitch.
Yeah. So,
Did not sound like his life was in danger to me.
like you said, Chronic, step one was, it was all about just normalizing the presence on the street. So they did that, even though the judges are pushing them out, wherever they can, they're putting more and more in there. And then I made a, post that was like, step two, normalize the secret police murdering civilians. They're pretty much executing civilians on the street. I saw a phone video footage of like someone recording one of them, and the guy saying, "Don't you get how it is now? Like I can fucking kill you right here, and I'll get away with it."
Yeah.
Like, don't you?
South Carolina, there's a law being pushed. It's not passed yet. There's a law being pushed that all SLED, South Carolina law enforcement, whatever the D stands for, must support ICE. And I kind of props to them if that's the case, because now there'll be at least some sort of legitimacy. I'd be curious to see if the whole to protect and serve motto still exists or not.
No, I would say
mean,
no. Yeah, no
not when the
pride there.
vice president said that. I mean, JD Vance said that they're going to go door to door across the country and check everyone's immigration status, which sounds unrealistically expensive, but he fucks couches. What do I know?
He what? Couches?
He fucks them.
Fucks them. Fucks.
I mean, he puts the thing in the thing, and then
It's not really prayer like that. It's more like a cushion.
so. But when a boy loves a couch,
I'm assuming. I don't know.
I don't know his preferences if he likes
Anything
leather
in
or
common with JD Vance.
upholstery.
Does he at least flip the cushions when he's done?
That's as deep as I want to get into the cushions right now.
Sometimes you might hit that loose change to go too deep.
So yeah, and that's a good way to get away from murder by the Gestapo. So, well, yeah. So South Carolina's going to say they need to work with them. I don't know if I like that at all.
Well, I don't. No, I was being a little sarcastic.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so, and I saw something where like a reporter wanted to see how easy it was to get a job with ICE. And apparently she failed the drug test and didn't provide a background check and still got hired.
And got a bonus, right? Don't they all get signing
You get
bonus?
a sign-on bonus,
Sounds better than construction.
I'm saying, it's,
Should I
just
have to
walk
cut my
around,
hair?
put me in the right city, pick up trash. I mean, I'm not going to shoot anybody in the fucking face. That's not going to
No.
happen.
I mean, never say never.
Never say never.
You would have the ability to do so if you so desire.
Yeah.
I'm not
responsible enough to
advocating-
know I shouldn't be given that power.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't want it. I'm a coward. I wouldn't shoot anybody. I don't think I'd even do it in a situation where it was called for.
Yeah. I'm like, really? I have to think it through.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else
Yeah,
happened.
I've
this
seen all
week.
these posts on social media. ICE cannot do this. ICE cannot do that. I'm like, yes, they can. They're showing you mean they're not supposed to be able to, but they can, and they are doing it.
Yeah, but they're not even supposed to be able to pull people over. They're not a traffic enforcer. It's immigration. I mean, you're investigating what amounts to misdemeanors. So it's like, I don't know, man. The whole fucking MAGA movement, they went from don't tread on me to comply or die like real fucking fast. So I think that actually, I think, points to the whole alpha conversation that I had with the AI. But first, I want to hear about your segment here, your musical segment, Chronic.
You want to go to me next? All right. I'm excited. All right. I just wasn't ready for it, I guess. I don't know. what was it segment? Was it episode 1 we had story time? Or was it
Yeah, I
episode
think
2 that we
so.
had story time?
Gather around,
Episode
kids.
2
Story
maybe.
time.
Yeah, but yeah, gather around, kiddies.
Gather around.
It's story time for
Oh, he's
me.
even got a thick book.
Yeah, it's big. So yeah, so obviously I didn't do any of this research myself or whatever, but read Gales in November by John Bacon. It's I don't know, really good book, pretty easy read, told really well. I don't know if you guys know the Fitzgerald, like being from Michigan, being surrounded by all the Great Lakes and stuff. We always grow up hearing about it. I've grown up on the lakes. I fished them and stuff, like not extensively. I'm not by no means like a fisherman or a sailor or anything, but
Just so you know,
um
I intentionally didn't research. I didn't know that much, or that, so I intentionally didn't look into it because I just wanted to kind of learn as we go here.
okay. All right. So I mean, really, the Edmund Fitzgerald at its time when it was created was the biggest ship on the Great Lakes, and they made 728 feet long, 2 feet shorter than the longest lock up in the Sioux that they made. So it could just
Wow.
squeeze in 2 feet shorter. I can't remember how much, and maybe about the same in the width. So they essentially were just the shipping on the Great Lakes just exploded with the creating of these locks and the freighters and stuff. And still, I mean, still that most of our freight goes through the Great Lakes. There's other nations come through the Great Lakes through the locks and stuff. You know, there's Norwegian, German, you know, all kinds of different freighters and stuff on the lakes. Our freighters are going in and out. Uh, Back then, like when that Fitzgerald came out, it was hauling mostly uh, mostly iron. And this time, like a specific type of iron that they made and was called taconite, which they just put iron ore mixed with clay and made it into pellets. So it's easier to haul and easier to load. But yeah, these ships were hauling like, I don't know, like you said, you know, the line from the song, 26,000
2,000
tons,
tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald. 26,000 than the
tons
Edmund
more.
Fitzgerald laid empty.
Yeah. So that's they were hauling, and so there was back probably still today, but especially back then, the book emphasized there was a competitive nature between the ships and the captains. And of course, it was encouraged by the corporate entities that ran them because the faster and the more you're hauling, the more money you're making. So the captains and their crews were all kind of like trying to haul the most per trip, the most per year, you know, complete the most trips, just anything you could do to have like titles and do the most of, right? Well, so the Fitzgerald was hauling on this particular trip, they said 20,000 tons, and it was a little more than that. It was like 26,020, 40 tons or something like that. More. They would, you know how on the side of you ever seen the boats going out in the ocean, how they've got the numbers painted on the side? It's called it's the Plimsoll line. I learned that's for a guy named Plimsoll, and he was named in his honor because he came up with it to keep ships from being loaded too much, so they wouldn't like sink or capsize or whatever. So that's what it's there for. Well, they found ways to cheat the Plimsoll line, so they'd get overloaded and stuff. Maybe it led to the catastrophe, but they would haul all this iron down from all the way up in like Minnesota, in far western end of Lake Superior, haul it all the way down to like Garrett steel plants in Gary, Indiana, Cleveland. At one point, they were hauling it directly to a place called, I think it was called Tug, maybe Tug Island in Detroit. And they would haul it, the freighters would haul in, unload their iron right into smelters, would be processed, smelted into ore, rolled, stamped, whatever, and rolled right into the factory. It was a one continual process. There was no like get it and load it and move it. It was made and into frames and I-beams and welded, whatever. And at the other end of the factory, cars were rolling out. Just it's amazing, you know,
Pretty
like
impressive.
pretty impressive, super, super impressive. So reading the book, it was fascinating, captivated me, hearing all the places and names and stuff, Sheboygan and, you know, Marquette and the Sioux, like names that people don't know how to pronounce when they see them written out. But like as a Michigander, you just know. It was neat. It was a good book to read. Uh,
What's the
so
Indian tribe that called the lake Gitchigumi?
I don't know. I'm going to take a stab. It's probably the Chippewa or the Chippewas.
I think it's in the
Chippewa
song, but
branch.
I can't think of it right now either. From the Chippewas on down, the lake that they called Gitchigumi. Yeah. There you go. Good call.
The Chippewas on down, yeah. and we all know the song then, right? Yeah, or we've heard the song. Most people heard the
Love
song.
it.
It's a fantastic song. I love the song 'cause for obvious reasons. I just think also it made the list that we've talked about, 'cause I just think one of my core things about a lot of the songs, not all of them, because some of them don't make any sense, but a lot of them is really good songwriting. I like the lyrics. I like a good, I don't know, like almost a texture to us. Like you can get into it, you feel it, like there's something there. It's like you're on the deck of that boat or the wheelhouse, and like you're feeling, you're like, shit, are we gonna make it? And we're going down, right? We're not surviving. So I didn't, I read in this book, they actually go into Gordon Lightfoot has actually become real, like he's members with the families. He's been to a lot of their they have ceremonies every year to commemorate it. And there was a ceremony when they raised the bell from the ship where it's from its resting place and placed it out on I think they placed the bell actually in the Whitefish Point Shipwreck Museum up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And anyway, Gordon Lightfoot was there with the whole the families and stuff.
Is he still alive?
No, I believe he passed away. Correct me on
Oh,
the head if I'm wrong. I think he passed away. I could be wrong. But he wrote this song. I didn't know how he wrote this song, but in this book, they go through how he wrote this song and stuff, and that's what I would like to read to you today. Are there any more questions? I don't if I led up
No,
to
but
it
I will
well.
just
Or,
say he died in May of 2023.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, 3 years now,
Yeah, a
but
couple years ago.
long
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, son of a bitch. Poor guy. But we gotta death and taxes, right?
There you go.
No. All right. So here we go. I said I'm reading. But I'll try to do a good job. All right. So after the Edmund Fitzgerald sank, Gordon Lightfoot read Harry Atkins' Associated Press story in the Los Angeles Times, and then Jim Gaines's piece in Newsweek 2 weeks after the wreck. Lightfoot biographer Nicholas Jennings tells us Lightfoot read the opening line of the Newsweek story and was instantly captivated. When the Edmund Fitzgerald went down, I imagined what that wave might have been like, Lightfoot said. He added that the Newsweek piece really moved him, but it struck him that the 29 men deserved more than a half page in a national news magazine. Lightfoot felt that he was getting close on his sea shanty melody, which seemed to fit his subject's somber and mysterious mood, so he started working on the words. It was quite an undertaking to do that, he said. I went and bought all of the old newspapers, got everything in chronological order. With the AP, Newsweek, and other stories laid out in front of him, Lightfoot began by writing about the big lake they call Gitchagumi, the load of iron ore that weighed 26,000 tons, the gales of November, and the Maritime Sailors' Cathedral, where the church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The troubadour had done his work. The song's 478 words, just 56 shy of the Newsweek article itself, told the story with both economy and feeling, two masters that are hard to please in one song. Still, Lightfoot remained deeply unsure of this piece, particularly his lyrics, due to the sensitivity of the subject. He feared being inaccurate, corny, or worse, appearing to exploit a tragedy for profit. But more than that, as a fellow sailor and a child of the Great Lakes, and as a musician whose first song he ever recalled was now playing in his head, decades later, this song, whatever it was deeply personal. It was something he felt. Lightfoot couldn't put that song out of his mind, tinkering with it for months, but always keeping it to himself. By December of 1975, Lightfoot felt he had enough songs ready for his next album, Summertime Dream. It was time to gather his longtime bassist, Rick Haynes, guitarist Terry Clements and Pee Wee Charles, and a new drummer, Barry Keane, to rehearse the tunes in the solarium of Lightfoot's home. Lightfoot took a working man's approach to his music, and he expected his band to do so too. After practicing long hours, Monday through Friday, Keane recalls, they had about a dozen songs in pretty good shape. But at the end of each rehearsal, Gord started strumming this new song, in 6/8 time, which you don't hear very often. Terry and Pee Wee would work out parts of it. Rick might have played a note or two. That's all, and I never played a single beat on it. But before they ever got going on it, Gord would always stop and say, no, it's not ready yet. Don't worry about it. Look, this is a song about a shipwreck, a real one. Then Lightfoot would drop the subject every time. In spring of 1976, Lightfoot summoned his band to Eastern Sound Studios on Yorkville Avenue in Toronto for a 5-day session, noon to 6 each day, to put Summertime Dream on vinyl. In the meantime, Lightfoot had figured out how the guitar parts for his new sea shanty would go, but he still wouldn't dare sing the lyrics to anyone, nor did he plan on recording the song for this album, if ever. But the pattern held. On Monday, after getting a handful of songs polished enough to put in the can, Lightfoot started fiddling with the sea shanty again, but shortly after the others joined him, he abruptly stopped. No, we're not doing it. The same thing happened Tuesday, and again Wednesday. After getting a few more songs on tape, he'd start playing the new song and then shut it down. It isn't ready, he'd insisted. It's not going to be on the album. The band still hadn't heard the whole song, just some chords and bars, and no lyrics. By 3 p.m. on Thursday, they had finished recording 10 songs for the new album, a full day and a half before the studio rental ran out. Gordon said, "Okay, we're done. Thank you guys," Keane says. And this was back in the 70s when no one finished early, but we were a tight group and knew what we were doing. The band members had already started packing up when studio engineer Kenny Friesen hit the talkback button in the booth to speak to the band. "What about that shipwreck song?" Lightfoot once again protested that it wasn't ready. Friesen countered, "Look, you've got the guys here and you've got the studio booked for 5 days. You're paying for it either way. Might as well try it." There was a long pause, Keane recalls, and Gord said, "All right." Lightfoot turned to his guitarists and said, "Terry and Pee-wee, do your thing." Keane, who was lost, had to speak up. "When do you want me to come in?" Lightfoot's drummer had never played a single note on the mystery song to that point and had no idea what Lightfoot wanted. "I'll give you a nod," Lightfoot said. Since Lightfoot would be sitting across from Keane right outside the drum booth, that seemed simple enough. Lightfoot asked Friesen to turn the lights down, which set the mood, then paused, closed his eyes, and started strumming the song's first notes. When he was already 90 seconds in, approaching the entire length of most popular songs, he still hadn't given Keane the nod to start, so Keane figured he had forgotten him and the song was about to end. But no, Keane says. Right before the third verse, Gord gave me a nod, just like he said he would, and I jump in. At exactly 1:34, right after Lightfoot saying, "And later that night, when the ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feeling?" He nodded to Keane, who came in with a strong tom fill to mimic a storm crashing down. It was a bold move, especially for someone who hadn't yet secured a full-time spot in Lightfoot's band, and exactly the right one. None of us had heard the whole song, Keane explains, so we all just played what we felt. Right after Keane's thunder, Lightfoot sang. The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and a wave broke over the railing. Keane had provided the perfect transition to the storm itself. It's impossible to imagine the song without it. After 28 two-line stanzas, lasting 5 minutes and 58 seconds, they reached the end of the song, improvising the entire way, then looked at each other, pleasantly surprised. What was that? Whatever it was, Keane says, it was actually pretty darn good. But Gord's a perfectionist, The print's very close to that. But Gord's a perfectionist, so he says, "Well, we should try it again." So he tried it again, then maybe a third time. Then Gord says, "We've got another day of studio time, so let's try it for real tomorrow and do this thing right." On Friday, they played it again 3 or 4 times, Keane says, but we never got it as good. The first time we played it the day before, there was that creative tension. Gord was putting his heart and soul into it. You could hear it. The other guys felt the same tension because we'd never heard the song and nobody wanted to screw it up. And that tension led to some good stuff. We weren't thinking. We all just played what we felt. You're always trying to make it better. But each time you play it, it takes some of the soul out of it because it becomes more clinical, more technical. You want to perfect it, but that song didn't need to be perfected. It needed to be raw, organic. When they played back the various takes, they reached a surprising consensus. First take on Thursday was their best. That's it, they said, that's the one. But Lightfoot's band was not a democracy. He had the only vote that mattered. Yet to their surprise, he agreed with them. The first take was their best. The version people have been hearing on the radio for decades is actually the first time the band ever played that song. Look, if you're not in the music business, you probably don't know that the first take get on albums sometimes, Keane explains. But the first time you've ever played a song, never. Never, never, never. That never happens. It almost didn't happen that time. It was that close. The album was done. When they left the studio, they all felt that they had created something special. But did I know it was going to be a hit, Keen asks. Not a chance in hell. It was long, 6 minutes. It didn't have a chorus. It didn't have a hook. No yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy. It didn't check any of the boxes you need for a hit. I didn't think it had a chance to be a hit. And I was in the record business. Not a chance. I think it ended up going in 1976, finished on Billboard 100 charts, second only to Rod Stewart's Night Tonight. Or sorry, Tonight's the Night. Okay, it did all right.
Cool.
It did all right.
But yeah, I just, but you know, back to your AI and stuff like, you know, I just think that's stuff like that. You're not going to get out of an AI program. I don't know. Maybe someday, but I doubt it. It's human. It's human.
Yeah, I mean, it took that tragedy, turned it, made it personal, wrote a song about it, get the right musicians to express that emotion. Like, I guess one of the things I fear with AI is like, if it just takes over, it's only going to take like 2 years, and then everyone, like, how are you going to know what you're missing? You're just going to know what you've got, right? You're not going to miss the Edmund Fitzgerald, and you're not going to miss Dark Side of the Moon if you never had it.
Yeah, right. You know, it's like kids these days.
Hey,
You know, but like people nowadays, right? We entertain ourselves currently now with phones and this constant feed of little pictures and stuff, and it's been parsed down to TikToks now. It's 30-second, 45-second little streams of they're keeping our information. You know, and when AI comes and starts doing stuff like that, it's bad. You know, when I was a kid, I kept myself entertained playing with sticks and dirt and digging holes. I dug holes for entertainment as a kid, you know?
yeah.
Why? I don't know, because there was nothing else to do,
There wasn't anything else to do.
but it built character.
Go dig a hole. There you go. Okay.
I love digging holes to this day. Not really.
Yeah.
Real quick on that one take wonder part, I just saw a video today from Matt Damon. Talking about working with Clint Eastwood, who evidently is known for one take, cut, print, move on. He said he was working with him on a second film. He said, Clint, I know you're about one take and the scene tomorrow. I'd like to rewrite my dialogue if that's okay. Clint, sure, whatever. So they get on set the next day and they do the take, one take, cut, print, move on. But after the take, Clint said, Matt, I thought you were rewriting the dialogue. He said, I did. I rewrote it 4 times last night. The way you'd written it initially was the best.
Couldn't do any better.
Clint said, and Clint goes, funny you should say that. On Unforgiven, I got the script from whoever the writer was. I start going through it. I go through version 2. I make version 3. I make version 4. I make version 5. I'm like, let me look. Starts looking back at the versions. Looks back at the original version from the original author, called the author and said, I'm making it just the way you wrote it. There's something to be said about the first time being the most raw and powerful.
Raw. It's right there on the tip of your brain. It hasn't been overthought.
It's real.
You can, like, in producing music, you can mix the hit right the fuck out the song, man. You can mix the soul out of it. You can record it till your artists just don't have anything left. Like, I don't know, finding that balance, that's the key. I remember, you know, when I was back in film school, me and my roommate Piv, you know, Dave, we got to go to the set of Hoffa. You know, they were filming Hoffa in Pittsburgh. Danny DeVito was directing. Nicholson was, you know, the
I didn't
star.
know DeVito directed that. Okay.
Yeah, Danny DeVito directed that. And we went over one night to watch him, like, one scene, and he's like 30-some takes.
Oof.
To the point of Nicholson standing on the side, like, smoking a cigarette, like this fucking slave driving little motherfucker. Like, it's like one of his best friends, you know. But it's like, and then there's, you know, the other guys are like, all right, we caught everything, we captured what we needed, let's move on. You know, they're more of the production, you know. But I mean, I not to say that Clint Eastwood hasn't, you know, turned in a career's worth of amazing performances. Like, I don't know how he did all that shit in one take, but whatever, you know.
Well, they probably put a lot of time into the rehearsal.
The same with music. Like, there's bands that I love that, like Dream Theater, man. They are the most technically perfect fucking dudes you'll ever see. College educated, masterful musicians, and it's amazing. And then I love the Black Crowes and the Rolling Stones, who are all record everybody together. They're a little sloppy. They kind of drift a little here and there, but you can hear the bleed in the fucking mix. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, as long as it serves the song and serves the intention. That's what's important, I think, to the average musician. Like, they don't really care if technical, or otherwise. It just, does it work or does it not work? And how much money do we have to spend on studio time? Because we got to wrap this up in 2 takes. Let me tell you how many takes we're going to do. We're going to do 2 because that's the budget we got. So same with, filmmaking. If you only got 2 rolls of film, you're limited. Better make it good.
Don't burn it up.
And I struggle with the whole AI thing because, I feel like we're more the product than the consumer when it comes to AI. I really feel like the AI is more feeding off of us than we're feeding off of it. And I would much prefer that it was washing my clothes and my dishes in my car and not trying to make books and music.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. Do that, I guess. I mean, till you take my jar.
yeah, right. Good luck, man. Good luck. I just hope if there's an AI construction project manager down the road that he has to deal with fucking AI homeowners and AI architects and AI fucking code
Well, there's 3D
enforcers.
printing. That's basically AI, isn't it?
What's that?
3D printing. That's basically the AI version of construction, isn't it?
Well, it's not really thinking. It's just a big machine. It's just a big ass printer that a human programmed. I don't know what the AI version of in construction would even be.
You would need it to be like robots would need to be accessible and available for it. It'd be Terminator-esque, where like there are robots that it could
You tell
control
a
and
robot,
use.
build me
'Cause
a
right now it could
1,000
program
square
and
foot mansion, and
I
then there you go.
guess.
And then
Then
whatever.
it'll just tell all the nanobots what to do.
right? Yeah.
That's fine. But so I've been trying to find ways to kind of like utilize AI and play with it and work with it and make it work for me because Dawn, my girlfriend, man, she uses that shit all the time. And anytime I try to like write something, she's like, just have AI write. I'm like, I don't want fucking AI to write it. I wanted to write the shit. So I was trying to like find some ways to like, I don't know, use it and have conversations with it. So what really took me down this rabbit hole is really what this is. We'll have to call this new segment like straight down the rabbit hole with AI or something. Was those damn douchebag fucking Jake Paul and Andrew Tate when those two lost their fights back to back. Jake Paul got his jaw broken in 2 spots, and Andrew Tate, and they both wound up on their damn knees, and like the memes were everywhere, and I was just fucking loving it because they're just, I don't know everything about these dudes, but from what I've seen, they're a couple of loudmouth douchebags, self-promoting whores. But what really stood out to me is they promote this whole like alpha level bullshit mentality and whatnot. They both lose, and then they immediately start making all the excuses about why they lost and why it wouldn't happen again. And I just, fine, I'm going to sound like the old curmudgeon here. I don't give a fuck. I'm so sick of this goddamn attitude where people lose and then they defend losing for a week. They tell you why they fucking lost. They tell you what would have happened if they would have played somebody else, and what would have happened if this would have happened. It's this fantasy fucking football mentality I don't give 2 fucks about because you lost. Move on. Like, I just want to go back to the time where we play the sport, whatever it fucking is. I don't even give a shit. One team wins, one team loses. We both acknowledge the result and we move the fuck on. Because these anymore with the internet, man, they will keep some shit going forever because it's profitable for someone.
Well, and because we have a leader of the country who doesn't acknowledge when he loses an election. So we feed off of that.
There's a little bit of that.
That's probably why was it the Aztecs decapitated the losers in the games.
See, because now you ain't gonna talk shit. Now, if you want to take the literal definition of talking shit, like the cannibal tribes from probably like Borneo or Philippines and all this and that, they would literally, when they defeated an enemy, they ate them.
Right. Yes.
Because you were literally going to turn your opponent into shit. That was the most degrading thing you could do. Like, yeah.
They're processing you, shitting you out.
I mean, at least you don't have to fucking hear him talk about, well, I wish a motherfucker would. Like,
Right. Yeah. It's kind of refreshing that way, as long as I'm not getting digested. And then what do I care?
So, yeah. So after those guys lost their fights, both in spectacular fashion, and, good for them. They made a lot of money, losing. whatever. That's how it goes. Well, they lost, but they made $40 million. Well, sure. Okay, great. I'd always knew that like this whole alpha mentality, even the term alpha male, was flawed. Like it came from a flawed study. I'd heard some stuff back in the day, just here and there. Shit I pick up. I didn't know too many specifics. So I just hopped on AI and I just typed in, I started out the study that got the alpha male idea started. Okay. So the whole concept of this started from a study of wolves in captivity. That's a very important part of the story during the mid 20th centuries. Okay. Rudolf Schenkel in 1947 is a Swiss behavioralist, and he published Expressions Studies on Wolves after observing wolves at a zoo. He noticed that unrelated wolves, when they were forced to live together in small enclosures, which we're talking like 10 by 20 meters, which is fucking tiny for a wolf.
Yeah. It's
So
tiny for us.
yeah, it's tiny for three of us wouldn't get along very well if we had to live at 10 by 20. So in that particular instance, they were unrelated. They were forced to live in a cage, essentially. They formed a rigid dominance hierarchy where the top ranking pair, which he called alphas, maintained their status through aggressive control and competition.
Wait a
So
minute,
this was
two alphas?
usually a male and a female,
Okay.
because that's how they make babies. Do we have to really go back that far in the story, bro?
I really never heard the alpha female. Okay. Okay.
These liberals nowadays.
All
It's
right.
just the alpha pair. It's just the pair.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to look at it one way, it's an alpha dude protecting his pussy.
I don't think I've ever heard the female referred to as an alpha, I guess. Okay.
So this happened in 1947. That was when the study came out. In 1970 was when it became popularized in this book by L. David Meck. And he published a book called The Wolf, The Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species. This is when the term got popularized, right? He talked about Schenkel's observations with the captive wolves, reinforcing the idea that wolf packs are led by a dominant alpha male who fought his way to the top. So it took until the late 1990s where Mech, I think that's how it's pronounced, Mech, the guy who popularized it in the 70s, he basically spent the rest of his career trying to debunk what he published because he saw how it went, like what happened to it. And he's like, no. So by the late 90s, him and others began debunking the theory based on observing wolves in their natural environment. What they learned was wolves are family units. They don't have hierarchies. They are packs. The alpha pair are just simply the parents. That's all it is. Their leadership is established by mating and raising the pups, not by any aggressive dominance. And the original alpha behaviors were an artifact of captivity. Okay. So basically, by the 90s, we know that this is not really true. Let's see, what's this? Cultural evolution. Despite being scientifically outdated for over 25 years, the concept spread through pop culture and human psychology due to a couple of things. One, this guy, Franz de Waal, in 82, wrote a book, Chimpanzee Politics, and he applied the term alpha to chimpanzees. The political media in the 90s, Al Gore repeatedly used the term alpha and beta to describe political archetypes, and that sparked a shit ton of media coverage. The manosphere came about in the 2000s. There's a book called The Game. There was a bunch of we got in the 2000s, people were getting online, and these subcultures, they adopted the alphas as an aspirational idea for men, focusing on dominance, assertiveness, and traditional masculinity. This book, I looked into it briefly. It's called The Game. I don't have that tab up right now, but it was basically like a douchebag's guide to picking up chicks and how you had to how you had to be basically an alpha to like pick up chicks. It's based a very, very short thesis on the book because I don't have that in front of me. Basically, that's what it was talking about. So from there, let's see. So where am I at? Yep. The manosphere, in the manosphere, a network of online communities focused on masculinity, dating, and men's rights, the alpha male concept has evolved from a biological theory into a rigid social hierarchy and an aspirational identity, right? So basically, inside the 2000s, all of these terms and stuff started coming out online. The classifications of the hierarchy first, they defined the alpha as the dominant, high value man who is financially successful, physically strong, sexually prolific. In extreme subsets, this archetype is known as Chads, which I just cracked up. I'm like, those are your
What?
fucking alphas? Like that's who you're the Chads are
Fucking
who you
chads.
aspire to be. So at this point I thought there might be a little flaw.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the beta male, this is the beta, the word beta, the term beta is used as a pejorative to describe men seen as weak, submissive, or unattractive, often characterized as providers who women only choose for financial security after being with the alphas. They've also got sigmas, which they're calling like their lone wolf who possesses alpha dominance but operates outside social hierarchies, prioritizing independence and personal goals. And some groups use additionals like omegas as social outcasts and zetas, men who refuse hierarchy. Anyway, so the manosphere took all these concepts and they just started rolling them online. And this is where we came, this is how we get guys like Andrew Tate and Jake Paul, right? So the core ideologies and mating strategies in the manosphere is something alpha fucks beta bucks, a foundational theory claiming women are biologically hardwired to want sex with the alphas, but they seek long-term relationships with betas for financial stability. Well, that raises a question for me. If they were truly alpha, would they not also have financial stability and security for
We
their
heard that
women?
earlier.
I mean, that just seems logical.
Successful
Yeah.
in business, I think it said earlier, or something like that.
Sure. Hypergamy. I don't know this word. Hypergamy. The belief that women are biologically driven to, quote, marry up and will always seek out higher status or the more alpha partners. And then they introduced this concept called the red pill. Okay. And that is accepting the alpha hierarchy is often framed as taking the red pill, waking up to a supposed reality where men are oppressed by a feminized society. Now, you get that?
Men are oppressed by a feminized society. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
I
that's what
get the
they're saying.
statement.
Once you
Yeah.
take the red pill, then you wake up and you're realizing that men are the ones who are really oppressed because society has become feminized. Now, do we know where they got the term the red pill?
From Neo.
Matrix?
Now, we're going to take a little detour on our story time here because
Follow the white rabbit, Neo.
The Matrix was made by to be respectful and accurate, it was made at the time by the Wachowski brothers, who are now the Wachowski sisters. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Both of
Yes.
them have transitioned. They're both trans females. So, yeah. And Lily Wachowski recently was in an interview talking about this, and she's not at all surprised that the right-wing ideology usurps things like this. The movie The Matrix is literally about being trans. So the whole allegory, they wrote it, and they're the ones who said this, so I have no reason to doubt them. So both Lily and Lena Wachowski, both trans women, confirmed in 2020 interview that The Matrix was intentionally created as an allegory for the transgender experience. They noted that the corporate world wasn't ready for an explicitly trans a message in a movie at the time, so they created a whole different world. So elements such as Neo adopting a new name, the feeling of the world being fundamentally, quote, wrong, which is their gender dysmorphia, and the red pill, which was a metaphor for red estrogen pills, all fed into this narrative. Now, these douche bro alphas grab onto the red pill, which is literally an estrogen pill, as their fucking way of saying, yeah, society's all against the fucking man.
Irony.
Yes. So she even says, like, yes, the term red pilling has been appropriated by online misogynistic groups, far right communities to mean wake up, to their own specific, often prohibitive worldviews. Figures like Andrew Tate have used the phrase escaping the matrix to promote their ideologies. And literally, you're just like, miss the whole point of the movie. The Lily Wachowski goes on to basically say that, of course, the typical fascist behavior, they always appropriate everything, right? They always appropriate, usurp left-wing ideologies and make it their own. And basically, as an artist, she said, at some point you just have to you have to let it go and move on.
Yeah, the
So,
joke's on them at that point.
well, it's just, you make the art, you kind of have to, you give birth to it, you got to let it go. And, whatever happens to it is out of your control. And I mean, I think you can chuckle pretty hard when some far right wing dudes are grabbing on to something that was literally not that at all. So,
Right.
so wow, we are still like right at the beginning of this whole thing. So inside of this red pilling, this alpha male movement, they use this framework of self-improvement they call looks maxing or status maxing. I've never heard these terms. Men are encouraged to spend intensive time at the gym to achieve a rugged alpha physique. They're, accumulating wealth is viewed as primary marker of alpha status and a way to increase your sexual market value.
Wealth.
Emotional stoicism. Modern alpha content often promotes a stoic industrial complex where vulnerability and emotional expression are rejected as beta traits. Kind of like crying when you get your fucking jaw broken in 2 spots.
Yeah. Or screaming and yelling and doing weird tiger poses when you come up to Mike Tyson on the pre-fight match.
So, experts and critics note that this application of the alpha concept often leads to toxic behavior. Alphas can, be aggressive, entitled, and dismissive of empathy. They can have mental health issues, exacerbates loneliness, contributes to anxiety, depression. They use a lot of dehumanizing language. Cucks, simps, soy boys. That's a funny term, soy boys. So then I ask AI, where is the concept of the alpha male most prominent today in the world in general and in the United States specifically? Sinnott basically kicked back that it remains a powerful, cultural fixture, primarily driven by digital subcultures, political movements, despite scientific debunking, but whatever. Yep, the global manosphere, influencers like Tate, they have international reach. Europe, Asia, Latin America, like it's spreading, like it's all over the place. US is the epicenter of the alpha male discourse, where it is deeply embedded in social media, politics, and consumerism. Concept is used as a binary political tactic, framing leaders as alpha versus beta. Platforms like X, TikTok have seen massive rise in misogynistic rhetoric. Since the 2024 election, researchers reported a 600% increase in the use of phrases like "your body, my choice." Haha, how cute. A business model has emerged that targets men's insecurities. This includes high-priced alpha retreats, life coaching, looks maxing courses designed to help men move up the perceived social hierarchy. But if you're actually an alpha, would you need to?
I have to ask, was
Please.
that saying that it's normalizing the phrase "your body, my choice"?
It was normalizing it was way more prevalent.
Yeah.
That was a thing that was floating around. That's in that rapey culture of the Chads. Yeah, I heard that quite a bit around a couple years back, for sure.
And leading up into, overturning, Roe v. Wade, right? Getting back to like,
It was being used
matter.
sarcastically.
No, I don't think it was being used sarcastically at all. I
No.
think it was being used very literally.
Oh yeah, it was being used very literally.
I always heard "my body, my choice," right? Like people would say that's not the case, but I don't.
No, they usurped it. They changed it, turned it on its head, and plus they get away with it. So it's like
there's probably some people that say it sarcastically. I'm sure there's a group of people that have said sarcastically, and made jokes, like in that regard.
Probably like the dude who shot Charlie Kirk in the neck. He said, "Your body, my choice, bitch."
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
They don't like it when it goes that way.
No, it's not. It's not fun.
You do know that he I can't remember his partner's name. That him and the other guy that formed their Turning Points organization. two of their main issues were they were totally against vaccinations and masks for COVID, and they wanted, more guns in the culture. Well, one of them died of COVID and one of them died of gunshot. So
I
there
did
you
not know.
go.
Huh.
Huh.
It's
So
one of
it
the best
does.
punchlines I've heard.
I mean, sometimes the fucking jokesters write themselves. I mean, good God. It does say here that there are some counter trends. There's a growing appetite for more like men's circles, groups that challenge these alpha beta binaries and, express models that are more based in vulnerability, compassion, sharing, blah, blah, blah. So that's that. And from there, I asked AI, are these ideas generally toxic to society and individuals? And 2026, psychologists, sociologists,
There
public
has to
health
be, yes.
experts generally view alpha male ideologies as harmful to both society and individuals. Impact on the individual's mental health struggles to help seeking, reduced longevity, addiction, and risky behavior. Impact on society, misogyny, violence, erosion of relationships, workplace toxicity, radicalization, not reading all the definitions for those. I think we all know what those things mean. Constructive alternatives. Experts note that while the toxic application of the term is harmful, the traits often associated with alpha leadership can be positive if recontextualized. Okay. Healthy masculinity in 2026 focuses on emotional intelligence, combining confidence with empathy and the ability to build supportive relationships. Prestigious versus dominant. Instead of dominating others through aggression, men are encouraged to develop valuable skills that benefit their community, leading to a more stable sense of self-worth. And peacemaking. True leadership is increasingly defined by the ability to protect others and resolve conflicts rather than creating them.
True leadership.
Sounds pretty good, huh?
Sounds good.
So then I asked AI, did Andrew Tate losing his recent fight have an impact on the movement? It said Andrew Tate's boxing loss to Chase Damore by a majority decision on December 20th had a significant impact on the movement, providing stark evidence for critics that challenged his image of invincibility while simultaneously causing a divergence among his followers. Turns out he could get his ass kicked.
Been funny if AI started screaming at you like the chat bot was like, I didn't lose. He didn't lose.
Oh, that'd be scary, dude.
Fair fight wasn't fair.
I think you have to go to the Grok AI for that.
Okay.
You know what? You got that joke, AI?
Yeah.
That's the.
Well, it's turned on Musk a couple of times.
Yes, and as a side note to kind of a tangent here, they recently announced that, I mean, because it just got kicked out of like the Philippines or a couple of countries for like creating like these deep fake kid porn images.
Okay.
But our government said we're gonna use that. I can't remember exactly which branches of the government. And I'm like, tell the world that the next thing you're going to do is produce deep fake videos without actually saying it. Like,
Yeah.
that's all I
Yeah.
heard was, oh, we're going to start making some deep fake videos.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just
So,
borrow this technology
Let's
and use
just
it.
borrow this, that totally immoral technology that's willing to do anything we ask it to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No compulsions, no compunctions, no judgment, no moral.
All right, so now we're up to the impact and reactions of the Andrew Tate losing his fight. I don't know what this means. The aura collapse. This is in quotes. The aura collapse for critics. It says for pundits and critics, the loss served as a major reality check or a fraud check that exposed the gap between Tate's alpha male persona and his actual performance against a less experienced opponent. Clips of him looking exhausted and bleeding circulated widely online, providing a powerful and lasting visual weapon for his detractors. Created division among his followers, and so the doubters and then the loyalists doubled down, of course, because that's what they do. They frame the loss as a brave effort in the man in the arena, basically saying, "Hey, at least I was in the fight." Okay, great.
Yeah. Sure.
And they say that he lost due to his age and that he took too long away from the sport. I don't give a fuck.
Right. Don't go into the fight then.
Don't go fight. Yeah, don't fight. So he went straight on social media to try to control the narrative. He released a 40-minute video explaining the loss not as a physical defeat, but as a, quote, win in spirit. Good luck with that.
That seems really alpha.
Yeah, he claimed he quote lost a fight, not my status. His more defiant posts garnered significantly more online engagement than his humble ones, indicating that his core audience still prefers the persona of an unbreakable gladiator. No, I don't think that's what it shows. I think that people are just more easily riled up by negativity and bullshit than they are by actual truth and positivity, if you ask me.
Yeah, because it said, like, those were his most popular posts,
Yeah,
right?
the
Were the
most popular
ones
ones were when he was most defiant.
so they're just getting the most traffic. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that yeah. I mean, could, but I don't think so. I think like you do.
The strong online engagement with his defiant messaging after the fight suggests that the business model of toxic masculinity remains profitable, as the market signaled it still wants the quote alpha identity over the fragile human. But he broke. So it did give his critics some powerful ammunition. It certainly did not dismantle the movement by any chance. So then I asked AI, does reframing that loss go against true alpha male qualities? Yes. According to the rigid definitions of masculinity within the manosphere, reframing a loss with excuses goes against the core alpha male qualities of dominance, invincibility, and control. The core tenet of the alpha identity is total control and never showing weakness. So the conflict now is the ideas of the alpha versus the reality of defeat, adding on the narrative spin. So, despite the apparent contradiction, the movement itself has shown resilience in reconciling this conflict. The loyalists have doubled down, accepting Tate's reframing as a necessary response to maintain the mindset and status of an alpha, even if the physical result was a loss. For his core audience, the defiant messaging that alphas don't need a perfect record, they need mindset more than was a more marketable signal than admitting vulnerability. This demonstrates how the ideology can adapt to protect the core alpha self image from the destabilizing effects of actual failure. Wow.
Well, at
So,
I
least it
mean,
sounds like Tate did not pull a Trump and just double down on blaming Joe Biden for everything. It's always somebody else's fault. I lost because I was cheated. Sounds like he didn't do that, did he?
he kind of
he
did. It
kind of
wasn't a
did.
person
Okay.
specifically, but I
He
was
just,
I'm
he didn't
old. I haven't
have,
thought for a while.
he didn't have a specific one person to like point that to, because that guy would have came and probably beat his ass again. So my next question was, does that mean that the movement is more concerned with appearance than actual qualities? It says in 2026, critics and social analysts argue that the alpha male movement has become more concerned with performative image and commercial optics than with the actual qualities it claims to champion. This shift is particularly evident in how leaders and followers handle public failure. So the movement often prioritizes the appearance of success over the traits typically associated with genuine leadership, such as accountability and resilience. The quote, confidence paradox shows that figures like Andrew Tate rely on a unbreakable persona that attracts followers through neurological and tribal triggers, making his image of confidence more important to his audience than the factual reality of his actions or defeats.
Okay, that's directly out of the White House right there for sure.
Check this next one out. Denial as a tactic. When a movement leader loses, as Tate did, the immediate use of copes or excuses is seen by critics as a direct violation of the alpha idea of total ownership. Instead of admitting a gap in skill, the leader reframes the loss to protect his marketable brand. Hardly blame anyone for protecting a brand in 2026 because it's all about the brands these days. So that's just part of the games. I'll give them a little bit of slack on that one. And then performative masculinity. The researchers describe this as where men adopt extreme outward signals of dominance, such as specific clothing, aggressive speech, and public displays of wealth to compensate for internal feelings of being disposable or emasculated. Oh, poor baby. The alpha concept has evolved into a lucrative business model that sells a lifestyle rather than character development, which brings up what they call the follower paradox, which I think I might have pointed to before. Analysts point out the irony that a true alpha would not likely follow another man's playbook for success. By selling courses on how to be an alpha, Influencers are essentially monetizing a followership that the ideology itself defines as beta. And then the validation seeking, many young men are drawn to these spaces because they want to, not because they want to develop any specific virtues, but because they're seeking validation and cultural resonance in a world where they just don't, they feel overlooked. So I get that. And let's see, we're almost done here. Societal consequences. By focusing on the optics of dominance, the movement risks creating a hollowing out of the imagination and personal character. What does that mean? Hollowing out of the imagination. This isolation, the pressure to maintain a perfect aggressive alpha image often separates men from genuine support systems and healthy relationships, leading to increased rates of deaths of despair. Okay. And radicalization, when the performance of masculinity fails to deliver promised real world results like wealth or effortless relationships. How cute. It can lead to frustration and radicalization into more extreme hateful subcultures. Okay. So then I asked, does that not sound, by their own terms, quite beta? It says in 2026, critics and even some internal skeptics within these communities point out a profound irony. Many alphas behaviors actually align with the movement's own definition of a beta male. So, by the manosphere's own logic, the current movement often appears beta in several key ways. They need external validation, right? Following a quote unquote master, when a true alpha would never would do that. Defensive reframing and making excuses, fear-based conformity. Yep. Consumption versus creation. Yeah. It says the industry has become a sales funnel for supplements, retreats, and get-rich-quick schemes.
Yeah. I mean,
that was the end of my down the rabbit hole inquiry.
I wonder what would happen if you fed it, fed it into a different AI, or like if I used my AI, like if it would come up with something different based on like my history. I don't know, whatever, if it would come up with different answers or whatever. I'd
What
be
did you
curious
use?
about that.
I was
Copilot?
just using Google. Like, I just Googled it. Like, use the Google AI, whatever that is.
Yeah, maybe I'll try something different. But, it's interesting. Like, so as you're reading through that, there's a couple things that I was thinking about. Like, first of all, I like some of the stuff that, like, hey, if I get into a fight with somebody, like, I think I could do something like, a mountain bike race, right? I go race. I don't finish first. I crash. I don't get first. I get second. Or for second place, the first loser, right? It's whatever they say. But and I guess it's how you react to that loss, right? Like you can't. It's very few people in life can go through and win everything, right? You're gonna lose at something, more often than not. So I think it's important. I think it was what we were taught as by our parents as we were growing up, like how to handle a loss and how to be, like not be a sore loser, that type of stuff. That kind of falls into some of that alpha stuff, like, you know, 'cause you can come up with reasons for like, hey, in hindsight, maybe I should have started a few more fights between this one and this, before this one, because haven't fought for a while. I should have knocked some rust off myself. Maybe I'm a little bit too old to fight a guy that's 5 years younger than me. Didn't like you can come up with those excuses, in my opinion, not lose any face. Like if you're without, like if you're just, like just thinking like these are the reasons I probably lost.
Doesn't it depend
Like
on
you
the
said,
framing of it though? Like, it's one thing to come to the mic and be like, or online and be like, hey, congratulations to my opponent. Fought a great fight. I lost. I wasn't trained as hard as I should. I see where I made my mistakes and I'm going to do better next time, as opposed to this is a bunch of bullshit. I should have never lost. It's all in the tone, man.
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, we
Definitely
see it in
is.
sports every day. The tone after it's a bunch of whiny fucking babies half the time. Like, you lost, move on. Give a shit.
Yeah. You lost. And a lot of the sports you're playing are almost basically fixed anyway. So like, are you mad? Just mad because you weren't on the winning side today? Like, I wish we got picked to win today.
Yeah, so I think there's a way to handle it. I mean, when you like Andrew Tate or Jake Paul, when you've got fucking millions of hours of you being a douchebag online, there's still a thing in my world anyway called credibility, right? Yeah, you have to still have to earn it a little bit and this and that. And they I don't even think they deny being who I'm accusing them of being. Like, I think they wear that as a badge of honor. So I just thought it was a fun exercise to kind of go down the rabbit hole and kind of just ask questions and see what AI shot back at me. And just I mean, to me, the movement is wrought with contradiction. Like, it is just
Again, that's straight out of the White House. I mean,
Like a Ponzi scheme, like the ones because it's almost there is an alpha. Some like even Tater Paul, like there's still to a point like exhibiting to a point dominant. It's the people below that are following those people. Like it, and again, I'm not trying to. I don't fucking particularly care for Paul or Tate or whoever or many of these alpha people or whatever. Like so, but like regardless of what is the actual thing that's happening in the actual reality, like there's kind of somebody that is the alpha in the wolf pen, and the others, whether they want to be out, like in the wolf pen and with that wolf study, right? You couldn't be a follower alpha, like you'd just be a follower beta. In our society with this TikTok and stuff where we can sell programs, you can be an alpha follower, which is not true based on the thing. But if you say that and draw attention to that detail too much, you can't make money off it. Right. So it's there can be a few alphas that set an example, and it's people, there are plenty of douchebag guys out there, guys, women, whoever, people that want to follow somebody else that is an ideal or a something that they aspire to be. Used to be called like a hero or role model, but these people nowadays are not those.
well, it's like, we've all seen The Lion King. Mustafa was the alpha. He took care of the whole tribe, everybody, all the animals, everywhere far as he could see, everybody was taken care of. Scar was not an alpha. Scar was a fucking
No.
douchebag.
Yep.
And it's just an
Yeah.
opportunistic and conniving. Doesn't that's kind of the way I see a lot of that too. Is like it becomes when you put that theory out there like that, it becomes in parentheses by any means necessary, and then you're not an alpha. You're just a dastardly fucking dickhead, or a criminal, or scumbag, or whatever. There's no alpha about that.
No, absolutely not.
And if you're only
No.
out for yourself, I think you disqualify as being an alpha. I think that's where their whole movement misses the real big point of that, right? An alpha doesn't have to say he's an alpha. He just takes care of his fucking business. Like, you guys know, I've got a 21-year-old daughter. I told her, any dude that tells you he's an alpha isn't. I promise you, if he says he is, he's not. Because that's just not how that works.
No. I mean, occasionally you do got to prove it. And if you can't prove it, then you're not. Then there's a new alpha in town. That's why there's new
but
alpha.
prove it without saying it. Just don't trump your own horn. Wait, no, toot your own horn.
Toot your own horn. I grew up when we'll do that. We'll talk about this later. Is like musical origin stories. I grew up with Kenny Rogers' "The Gambler" album. Man, is one of my first records I ever listened to. It was nothing but fucking great stories, and it just paints such a beautiful image. Like the imagery in the songs, but in the song "The Coward of the County," right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. And I can't remember the exact words, but they fuck with this guy. These brothers, they fuck with this guy. They fuck with him, and he goes and finds them. They're at the bar, right? And he goes into the bar and he confronts them and whatnot, and they give him some shit. And he turns around and he's walking towards the door, and they start giving him more, coward, blah, blah, blah. But he fucking locks the door. And he commences to whoop some ass. And just that imagery, I love 70s movies, the Walking Talls, the Clint Eastwood, the Charles Bronson, those quiet badasses, the Equalizers, like whatever Denzel's doing now. It's like, didn't say a word, they were fucking yapping. He just walks through the door, locks everybody in.
It's like, oh shit.
There was the Jim Croce with the you don't go big or don't mess around
Bad
with
Leroy.
Jim. Yeah, bad Leroy Brown. There's another in that too, right?
But at the end, you don't mess around with Slim.
Don't mess around with Slim.
Oh, there's another fighting song.
You guys know Rose Betts?
Rose Betts?
She's one of my favorite artists. I don't know if it's kind of modern day. What would you call it? Like modern day hippie kind of. Anyway, she's got this cool song. She's like, I never was a hot girl. I never did hot girl things. I never had hot girl friends. But it turns out I wrote a song that the hot girls sing. I was like, yeah, that's pretty damn cool.
Well, I'm about wrapped up for this evening. I don't know what anything left for y'all.
I'm good, man. I got to pee.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm gonna stop the recording.